My friend, you met a terrible, terrible demise. But, I don't feel too bad about it. After all, if it weren't for me, it would have just been from someone else. I guess what I'm trying to say is life goes on. Well, for everyone else, life goes on. Not for you. That's neither here nor there. Reminds me of one summer day in the park. I was having just a delightful picnic with my good friend Orville. Ow. And I said to him, Orville, I have a story. He said to me, what's the significance of the story? I said to him, Orville, not every story has to have significance. Sometimes a story is just a story. You try to read it, every little thing, find meaning in everything anyone says, you'll just drive yourself crazy. Had a friend do it once, wasn't pretty. We talked about it for years. Not only that, but you'll likely end up believing something you shouldn't believe. Thinking something you shouldn't think. Or assuming something you shouldn't assume. This is driving me insane. Sometimes, I said, a story is just a story. So just be quiet for 1 second, you'll laugh and eat your sandwich, okay? Of course, it was only then I realized I made sandwiches. Poor Orville was having such difficulty eating them. Elephants have those clumsy hands. Actually, I suppose that's the problem. They don't have hands at all, do they? They're all feet. I couldn't imagine asking me to eat a sandwich without my feet. Now, if I recall correctly, there was a bakery nearby. I said to him, Orville, let me go get you some rye bread. Now, I'm unsure if elephants enjoy rye bread, but I assure you that Orville does. Now, this was on a Tuesday, which was good because rye bread was always fresh on Tuesday. They made sourdough bread on Monday and threw it out Wednesday. Or rather, they sold it at a discount, people wanting to feed the ducks. And then probably at the end of the day, finally threw it all out. I don't recall. I do remember a man who would bring his son to the bakery every Wednesday and go feed the ducks. He would buy all the sourdough bread. Of course, you're not supposed to feed the ducks sourdough bread at all. It swells in their stomach and they'll die. At least that's what I've heard. I never saw any ducks die myself, but I did notice a substantial decrease in the dog population over the course of a few years. Who wrote this? I just never thought to stop the man and tell him that he was killing the ducks by feeding them sourdough bread. And if you want my opinion on the matter, and I told Orville this as well, if you want to feed ducks, or birds of any kind for that matter, it's best to buy seed. I mean, when you think about it, breads of any sort don't occur in nature. They don't grow on trees or spring up from the bushes. I don't think birds know what to do with bread. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So I bought Orville some rye bread. What a fine day it was. And that's just one of them. It seems you've met your end. What a pity. I don't feel too bad about it, though. After all, if it weren't me, it would have just been one of the others, I guess. I'm honestly just glad to be out of those air ducts. It's not easy for a hippopotamus to fit up there, and not easy to get down either. I'm not as young as I used to be, as you can see. I used to be able to do all these sorts of things. You're young, you're vibrant, you have that sort of pep in your step. Reminds me of a conversation that I was having with one of my good friends, Orville. We were having a nice picnic one day. Oh no, not again. I believe it was summer, perhaps it was. Was it in the fall? Yes, it was in the fall because the leaves had turned already. But I said to Orville, Orville, I have a story to tell you. And Orville looked at me, kind of odd, and said, what's it about? I said to him, not every story has to be about something, Orville. Sometimes a person just wants to talk. Why does everything have to be a story? I said to him. He just looked at me. He said, well, you said you had a story. He was quite right. I did, in fact. I told him I had a story. Suppose if a person just wants to talk, then it's best not to announce you're telling a story. Telling a story does come with its own pressures and expectations, I suppose. After all, if you're just talking to a friend, there's no more expectations if you're talking into the wind. Words by themselves aren't expected to stick, but if you announce that you're telling a story, well, and then there'd better be a point to it at all. No one wants to sit and listen to someone ramble on and on and on with absolutely no end in sight. Yeah, how about you tell me about it sometime? So, it's good to be mindful of that when you tell someone that you're about to tell a story. They have something to say. Telling someone that you're going to tell them a story is tantamount to asking them to stop what they're doing and pay attention. You're basically saying, hey buddy, stop everything. Stop what you're thinking. I have a solution to everything. And while I didn't really have a story to tell, in hindsight, I probably just misspoke when I said I had a story. I think it would have been better to just tell Orville that I wanted to tell something, rather than tell him I had a story. But even then I might have put too much importance on the whole thing. Either way, it was quite a nice day, I remember. I remember that we were drinking tea. Are you kidding me? That's where that one stops? Well, it seems that your journey has ended. Very sorry about that. It was always going to end this way, of course. If it weren't for me, it would have just been by some other, terrible thing. Just could not imagine how terrible it would be if I just get scared thinking about it. Glad it's not me. Reminds me of a time I was speaking with my good friend Orville. We were sitting on the park bench watching the pigeons. I was on the left, he was on the right. Wait, was I on the right or left? Anyways, it doesn't matter. We were sitting on there watching the pigeons, and I said to Orville, "Friend, these birds are frozen." Ow. I lost my place. And he kind of looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But I remembered that it was the winter, And often birds will sit in a tree until they freeze, then, they sort of fall to the ground until the sun warms up and they can, move around again. So I said to Orville, you might as well save those breadcrumbs to the birds thaw, because they can't very well enjoy them in the condition they're in. To which he asked what I meant, and asked him what condition the crumbs should be in before he threw them to the birds. Assuming that I meant the birds couldn't enjoy the breadcrumbs in the condition that the crumbs were in, when in fact I meant the birds could not enjoy them in the condition the birds were in, considering the birds were frozen. So he took a moment, and then he threw his last handful onto the ground. I said to him, "Now, Orville, why do you throw the breadcrumbs to the birds when I told you they're frozen?" To which he responded, "The breadcrumbs are not frozen." Again, misunderstanding my words. I didn't mean to say the breadcrumbs are frozen. When I said, "I told you that they're frozen," I've been referring to the birds. In hindsight, what I should have said was, this would make perfect sense, why did he throw the breadcrumbs to the birds when the birds are frozen? He misunderstood upon my correction, saying that he didn't know what else to do with the breadcrumbs, and that perhaps, when the birds thaw, they'd still be able to eat the crumbs. So I said to Orville, and this is what I said to him, I said, "Orville, the birds may be dead." What the fuck? Seems you met a horrible demise, my friend. But, these things happen, and life goes on. Not for you, obviously, you're dead. But it reminds me of a time I was... Okay, this has to be the best intro to any of these stories ever. It reminds me of a time I was having a conversation with my friend Orville. We were, where were we? We were by the river. We were standing by the river and watching the fish leap over the falls, and I said to Orville, sometimes I feel like a fish leaping over and over again, always trying to get somewhere. I don't know what only to find myself in the jaws of a beast. Who wrote this script? He, of course, would be surprised, Have you been in the jaws of a beast, friend? To which I said, "No, of course not, Orville." I said, No, I simply mean that life can seem like a relentless endeavor. Overcome meaningless obstacles only to meet an equally meaningless fate, regardless of your efforts, regardless of the obstacles you passed. And Orville, he stood and proceeded to drape me with a picnic cloth, to which I asked him, I said, "Friend, what are you doing?" He looked at me, very concerned, really. "I feel like you've gotten too much sun." "Yeah, you're telling me." Indeed I had. Proceeded to pour me a glass of just ice-cold lemonade. Oh, you ever mix it with iced tea? Do it like little half lemonade, half... Oh, it's so... You should try it some... Well, you can't because you're dead. But, anyways... So you may be asking yourself, how did I go from sitting by the falls drinking lemonade to being wedged in the air ducts, not only with Orville, but with an entire assortment of fruity-colored friends? Well, there's really no good answer to that. But perhaps I made a demise of my own at some point. This is the afterlife or my dream. Whatever I might mean, I honestly don't know. Or maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Okay, forget William Afton. I'm in hell. That's it. Oh, God, I'm finally done. Yes! 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 Oh, why did I think that was a good idea?